A recap from the Mini-Expo, and boy, oh boy, hockey has been kicked into high gear with the Olympics now into the medal rounds. You're listening to the Hockey Card Haven podcast. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome. This is episode 68 of the Hockey Card Haven podcast, a weekly show diving deep into the world of hockey card collecting, flipping, and investing. Just a reminder that this podcast is free and available on both Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, so you can listen to it on the go wherever you go. And you could also subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Check out our socials on Instagram as well as on TikTok. Lots of people over the weekend at that card expo saying, hey, I've seen your TikToks. Oh, I've seen you on Instagram, seen your clips. Lots of people seeing the clips out there. So it's cool. Shout out. Let us know if you continue to see the clips. Let us know if you agree with us. If you disagree with us, comment down below throughout the show while you're listening. If we're too high on a guy, too low on a guy, if we're completely wrong about the market, I love hearing that feedback from the crowd. So we do really appreciate it. I'm Mike Distefano, by the way, Anthony Santini, co-host with me today. And we'll get into the shows. We'll get into the weekend. We'll get into the hockey card market. But today was a special day for hockey fans, Anthony. We got to witness the quarterfinals at the Olympic Games. We're recording this right now. It is, 7:38 Eastern time on Wednesday evening. And all the games are now done. But how about the day we had? Started out with the Slovakia. Easy win. They cruised to victory over Germany. And then an absolute sweat for Canada. Czechia taking them to overtime. Mitch Marner plays hero there. The Americans end up going to overtime as well. Quinn Hughes plays winner over there. And then the Finns were down 2-0 in the third period. They come all the way back, and they win in overtime as well. I mean, this might have been one of the most entertaining days of hockey since I've been a fan of the game. I don't know about you, but that's kind of how I felt. It was just such a fun day to be a hockey fan today.
Oh, my God. I was so stressed out during the Canada game, too, the whole time. That was one of the best hockey games I can remember in a long time. And then, even just to cap off the night with the USA game going into overtime. Sure, the Germany game started off the day a little slow. It wasn't.
People weren't even awake for it. Doesn't even matter.
But, probably one of the best quarterfinals that I've seen in a tournament, in a very long time, and setting up what should be a really good semifinals. I don't know about these Americans, though, man. I think that Slavkovsky could play a big role and a big upset here. So, be a little predictable. They haven't looked good to me all tournament. They haven't looked good.
Well, they check and defend really hard. That's the thing. They're not goal scorers, and based on how they put their team together, they know that. They know what their identity is. They're going to be a hard-nosed team that wants to win 2-1. That's exactly what they did against Sweden. But yet you'll get USA taking on Slovakia, and then Canada and Finland in the other semifinals. So we'll see who comes out. That game's going to be on Friday, and then the gold medal game will be on Sunday with the bronze on Saturday. Man, it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, Sunday morning, 8 a.m. game. The booze will be flowing across the country. I know Toronto, they lifted the drinking ban. You could start drinking, I think, at 6 a.m. The bars can open up and start serving alcohol. So I'm sure people will be lined up ready to get into the bar at 6 a.m. if it's an 8 o'clock puck drop on Sunday. But they got to get through Finland first. Obviously, the Czechia game, too close for comfort. But, I guess we could weave this right into kind of like one of the things we want to talk about today, and that's just how it's so funny how hype drives the hobby. We continue to realize how hype drives the hobby. I don't know about you, but one of the first things that I did today after Mitch Marner scored the game-winning goal in overtime, I was curious, and I went to go and see what his card prices were going for. What about you?
I didn't get to take a look right now. I guess right now is the first time that I could look at anything.
I mean, just in general, you look at throughout the tournament, like Celebrini's prices have been skyrocketing throughout the tournament. McDavid continues to sell at a really high level. I think Quinn Hughes, after what he was able to do for Team USA, I would imagine that, and it may not just be the dollar figure, but also just like the volume of number of sales that we're seeing with these players and with these cards. And, we're seeing a number of sales for Mitch Marner cards over the course of the last few hours. Lots of February 18th dates. And let's be honest, Mitch Marner, prior to scoring this overtime winner, not a loved guy in the hobby, especially since leaving Toronto. So it's just another example of how hype drives the hobby, how the Olympics is kind of spurring, this market in a way. And, this is just another example of it. And, I don't know, Mitch Marner, if you've been holding on to those Mitch Marner cards, since he left Toronto, his market took a bit of a beating over the last 6 months, but perhaps a chance to capitalize if you can move swiftly on these.
And I think we were pretty sharp too to say that some of the higher end players, the guys that would play power play in this tournament, were going to have the biggest impact to their market. But like you said, I mean, Mitch Marner, someone that wasn't really that, he didn't really have that hobby lust anymore ever since he came to the Vegas Golden Knights and ultimately left the Leafs. But I mean, I was very surprised, obviously happy for him to see him out there scoring the goal to send them to the semifinals. And I know we want to get into it a little bit, talk about some of the players that we think have benefited the most. But one guy's market that I had no idea walking around the show, I looked like an absolute clown thinking Tom Wilson Young Guns still went for $10 just to find out that these things have hit $40, $50. Like he might be the only outlier when we kind of predicted that the higher end players, those power play one type of guys would have the biggest, jump in their market. But Tom Wilson cards, man, have jumped like crazy.
Is he selling for that though? Like Wilson
all over the place, like raw Young Guns for $44. I believe was
$44 last sale today. Although he only played like 8 minutes in this game with the Crosby injury, he ended up dropping lower in the lineup and didn't play a whole lot. So again, I believe we did say sell Tom Wilson because his market did, have a big uptick when he was placed on that top line with Connor McDavid and Macklin Celebrini. So that was last week. We talked about it. Sell, sell, sell. Hopefully you did because, again, his market exploded over the course of the week. And hopefully you guys were able to reap the benefits. Because prior to announcing that he was on the top line, he was, what was he, like $25, $25, $20. So that was roughly what it was prior to the Olympics. And then last sale, $44 for Tom Wilson. So yeah, hype drives the hobby, man. Then after you had the fight, I think that definitely also helped do a lot here. But who do you think, like, whose market do you think has benefited the most though from the Olympic Games? Like, is there a player, whether it's in terms of his market going up by a percentage or just sheer volume of people looking to acquire those cards, whether it's for collection or speculation, for investment? Is there a player that you think has really benefited from the Olympic Games here?
I definitely think that Quinn Hughes is probably the guy that benefits.
That's the incorrect answer. That's the incorrect answer.
No, man.
How is Macklin Celebrini not the answer to this question? How many Quinn Hughes cards did you see fly off the shelves this weekend at the show compared to Macklin Celebrini?
I guess that's true. A lot of people were spending money on Celebrini, man.
Everyone was spending money on Celebrini. Not one person did I see ask about Quinn Hughes at the Americans. What do you mean Quinn Hughes?
Hey, you said who's had the biggest impact from the tournament. I think Celebrini stuff's been flying off the shelves the last 4 months. Quinn Hughes PSA 10s are up to like $340. Like these things were $220 just 2 months ago. And then now he's starting to get the recognition. Obviously scored that overtime goal today, but like you said, too, like Celebrini stuff, I feel like this tournament has helped him now to even maybe, plateau into the $500, $600 range, which I ultimately think his Young Guns Raw will get into, which is crazy to say, man, just crazy. But
it's already at 5. It's already at 500. All right, it's already at 500, man. So it's not far off. PSA 9 today, one sold for $750. On a PSA 9, it's the best offer, but $750 one sold for today on eBay. Another sale at $700. Like the market just continues to go up on this guy, and I think we ultimately just like you just look at what we witnessed over the weekend, a little Mini-Expo, and we can kind of weave those thoughts into this conversation. Like, to me, he was the hottest player this weekend. Like, that's who everybody was looking for at the expo. Celebrini. The amount of people, while I'm there looking at cards, looking at showcases, just walking up, hey, got any Celebrini? Got any Celebrini? Like, everyone wanted a piece of Celebrini. Didn't matter if it was just any cheap like victory rookie or any rookie insert for like 20-30 bucks. Celebrini was flying like hotcakes. And I mean, the guy's leading the tournament in goals. Had another one earlier today. Beautiful goal. Just a little curl, drag, little shot into the net to open up the scoring for Canada. To me, that undoubtedly is the player who I think, and it's not just so much that like his market in terms of sales, like going from, I mean, I think he was over $2,000 anyways prior to the tournament. So it's not like his market has gone, astronomically high and doubled in terms of sales, but it's the volume. Everybody is buying them now. And that's what's, I think, is incredible about his market. The amount of people who are speculating and now putting him into that category of like, well, what if he's the next McDavid? What if he's the next Crosby, right? Like, what if he is that next guy? It's not Bedard. Maybe it's Celebrini. If I can get in on the ground level and get it at $2,000, I mean, we see what the market is for McDavid and Crosby. I mean, getting him for $2K might not be a terrible idea if you have that type of belief in him.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, I can't even consider going back to November at the expo. Remember when we thought that was his ceiling, like $200 for a raw young gun?
We were talking about it being, I remember having a conversation when he was like in the McKinnon range at like 1,100-1,200. And I'm like, is he really better than McKinnon? Like, I'll take an L on that. We had that conversation and I said, man, like if someone offered me a McKinnon for a Celebrini straight up PSA 10, I'm taking the McKinnon. I would have been an absolute moron if I would have done that because Macklin Celebrini is outselling McKinnon, his PSA 10 Young Guns currently by like $600, $700, $800. Like, it is insane the hype behind this kid right now.
Oh, it's crazy. Can you see a scenario maybe like 8 months down the road saying, oh my, I can't believe his PSA 10s were going for 2,200, 2,100, and I didn't take a stab? Like, could you see these things hitting 3,000, like 3,500? I don't know, man.
You know what? Like, it feels like it is getting to a point, though, I will say, where like unless he goes off and has an unbelievable, semifinal gold medal game, scores a golden goal game winner, then I could see a quick spike in price to get up to maybe the 3K range. Could I see it? Yeah. But, could I also see 4 months from now, like come summer, mid-July, can I get one at lower than the $2,400 that the last sale currently is on eBay? I think there's more likely that you'll be able to pick them up for sub 2K come July than you will pay more than that money come July. That ultimately, I guess, would be my opinion on that. But who knows, man? I someday it feels like if this Sharks team gets going and if he really does like win an MVP, wins an Art Ross, and becomes that next face of the league next to Connor McDavid, could see a scenario where he does get into the 3K range pretty regularly like McDavid. I just don't know if it's happening yet, but it could.
Yeah, I think a lot would have to happen. Like you said, Olympic gold, maybe that golden goal, how crazy that would be, even like a little bit of a playoff run. But I could see a scenario in the summer where I'm torn between picking one up that they're available for maybe $1,500, $1,400. I could definitely lean on that side of the argument.
Yeah, but then, you just have to remember, well, there was a market at one point where people were willing to spend 22, 23, 2,400 on them. You gotta have that memory, in the bank when those things drop and think like, hey, this is a good time to get back in on it, right? Like you have to have that memory. So we'll see.
Do you have those memories of Austin Matthews PSA 10s and $1,600 during that 69 goal season? You got it up there, man.
Yeah. I mean, his stuff's falling off a cliff, but if he gets back to like being that player, it's all about belief in what you think. Like right now, there's a lot of hype. Celebrini looks like that guy. He looks like a top 5 player, not only in Canada, in the world. And when Matthews was a top 5 player in the world, his stuff got to those numbers. So you could see it happening with him. Matthews is just a kind of a different cat. But yeah, for me, Celebrini is the one who I think you look at who's had the most exposure, I think, in the hobby throughout this Olympic Games. I do think that it's him.
It's been a crazy run for him, man. It's awesome. Mark Stone, in an interview, I believe he said that it's McDavid, McKinnon, and Celebrini, 3 best players in the world. So
there you go.
That's some high praise from an
NHL. And Makar is not far off as the best defenseman in the world, right there in the top 5. Like you got 4 of the top 5, 6 players right now on Team Canada. So we'll see what they can do. They got 2 more games to go, and hopefully they can bring gold back to Canada. Would be special to see Celebrini leading the way while doing that as well. Let's talk a little bit about the weekend, though. The weekend show, the Collector's Super Show, the Mini-Expo is kind of what we've been dubbing it and calling it. And it seemed like that's what a lot of the patrons who were walking the show floor were calling it as well, the Mini-Expo. Because it was at the exact same location that Expo runs out of. It was ran by the same people that run Expo, along with the CSC group. So it was kind of that's why they call it the Collector Super Show, a mix of sports and TCG. And I actually thought they did a really good job of keeping it pretty close to 50-50. I thought that you walk into the show, on the right side, you had primarily TCG, and then on the left side, you had primarily sports. I thought that there was a little bit of everything for everybody. I thought it was actually a really quality show.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. And we talked about it when they first announced it, having that split between sports and TCG. I thought that was a great idea. I mean, I didn't venture off too much to that side. I went to go say hi to a couple people that I know that were set up. But, I mean, it was well organized. Obviously, 2 of the biggest shows in our area kind of coming together. That was what we kind of expected. But hobby's in a good spot, man. A lot of people walking around, a lot of people came to the show, a lot of people buying too. Like, I was very impressed with the show that they ran, and so quickly too. It felt like it was only like 2 months that they advertised this thing.
Yeah, no, it was quick. And you mentioned the buying thing. This is where I think the hobby's in a very interesting place right now. And maybe it's a conversation that we can dive into a little bit more when we get to shoot or pass. I've got one for you. We can dive into it. But, I look at repackers and a lot of people have questions of whether or not repackers are good for the hobby, bad for the hobby. But I can tell you this, as someone who likes to, flip, buy, sell, trade, repackers are at least keeping the money going, because, you can buy something if you get a good deal at 80, 75, 80, 85%. Repackers are paying strong on these cards. And I was able to move some of my stuff for upwards of 88 to 90% of, market value. That wasn't the case, like a year ago. You were going to a show and, if you're lucky, you could get 80% on your cards, from some. A lot of show dealers will offer you 70%, which was kind of the norm, to be completely fair and honest. It was kind of the norm. But I find that now it's tough to walk around and sell to those 70%ers, just knowing that, hey, there's other people at this show, whether it's a dealer who's setting up, looking to buy cards, or it's just people walking around being a little bit more verbal, saying, hey, what do you got? I'm buying case hits. I'm buying PSA 10s at 90%. What do you got? Open up your case. And it's a really good way to kind of just keep things flowing, right? You're taking in inventory, you're moving inventory, you're getting cash, you're reinvesting it, respending it. I really think that that's something that I noticed in the last couple of shows, whether it's last couple expos, but definitely notice it here too, where these repackers are kind of allowing a more healthier way to sell your cards, if you're just like a patron walking around at these shows.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good for the vendors. I was actually having a pretty good conversation with a listener that was at the Hamilton show on Monday, and he mentioned how he traveled to, I believe it was the California show that just happened this weekend, but he kind of felt the opposite about it. So he brought it up where he was walking around at the show trying to buy cards from people. You know, those case hits like you talked about, like he'd go up
Yeah.
looking for stained glass downtown football cards, and he'd offer them like up to 85, 90%. But he was getting outbid by guys, repackers coming around paying up to like 100% of comps on some of these higher end cards, which is just crazy that you don't really see that stuff at the local shows. So he was saying how it's tough, really tough for people walking around sometimes because of these repackers.
Well, I mean, you could look at it two ways, right? You could look at that and say, wow, I can't believe when I'm undervaluing these cards that people aren't selling to me.
Yeah, that's
Or you
true.
look at it and say, hey, cards are actually selling for what they're valued at, right? Like people are paying full. I think that's good for the hobby that people are willing to pay comps. And, when you bring cards in, you can move them out and not take a loss, right? Like I think that's good for the hobby. I think it just allows the money and the cards to keep moving. Like I understand where he's coming from, where he's trying to, play the flip game, buy something at 15, 90%, and hopefully can get 95, 100% comps on it when he flips it. But at the end of the day, I think the real skill to flipping is kind of noticing more so a trend of like, okay, this market is going to go up. This market is slept on and it's going to go up, right? And I think that's where you're going to find the most success. But you can go and buy a card at 80% value and then, try and sell it 20 minutes later, 3 days later for 85, I suppose, or try and get it for 90 and sell it at 93% and just play at that game. You could do that. But I think that I think that the more skill is realizing, hey, I think this player's undervalued and slept on. I'm going
Oh,
to pay, 90, maybe even market value on that card because I think market value today, I could see this thing growing 20, 25% in a little bit. Like if you bought Tom Wilson at market value and he was $25, then you flipped him this weekend, you did well. You went up 30, 35% on stuff like that. So, I think the flip game, you just have to be a little bit more cerebral and not necessarily like, I'll buy anything at a percentage. More so, I'm going to buy stuff that I think is going to go up as opposed to the quick flip. Maybe the long-term game is more the play.
yeah, I felt like too that it feels like in the past year, all this 80%, 75% stuff, because I don't remember this stuff happening 3 years ago. People just walking around shows like, look, I'll buy anything at 85%. I was at the National and I felt like that was the only thing people talked about. I told you about that crazy story. We were at trade night and that one kid was just like, how much you want for all this stuff? What percent do you want? He just pretty much saw case hits on the table and was like, I don't even care who the players are. And I mean, I totally agree with you. Like you said it right on. If you can prospect players, if you could look at a player's market, like if you could look at someone like Elias Pettersson right now and be like, I think he's really skilled, his market's down, I'm going to stock up on him, even if it's 100%, 110%, 70%. I feel like that's where the skill comes in. Personally, I think there's no skill, like you said, at buying at X%. Like you can buy anything at X%, and it could be a player that's no good, a player's market that's no good. It's kind of it's a little bit annoying, honestly.
It is, and you can get stuck with cards that way. But like, let's talk about a couple examples of players that, maybe with the NHL trade deadline coming up, right? This is another way where you could speculate, right? And this is, a little bit more the gamble, but that's the flipping side, the investing side, is you are, part speculator. And like there's some players around the NHL right now whose, market is down a little bit or they're being slept on, but maybe with a trade to a new market potentially could unlock something. We could see them take off and see that kind of market grow. Is there any players that come to mind with the deadline coming up where you're like, maybe I should target these guys and pick up some pieces of their cards and maybe try and speculate on them, and once they get dealt, could see an uptick in price where I can kind of make my money that way? Anyone come to mind?
I definitely think there's one guy. There's one guy. I'm hoping he gets traded. I know that his ask is very high. And I heard that he was linked to the Toronto Maple Leafs too, which I think would be a great addition for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hometown guy, Shane Wright. I think that Shane Wright needs a huge reset right now. He does kind of have that sleeper desire in the hobby where people do like him. He is a talented player, but if you go look up comps, man, I saw a $200 tag. It's cheap. I saw a $200 tag on a Young Guns exclusive Shane Wright, and I was thinking in my head, like, man, $200 doesn't even feel that bad. Looked up the comp. There's like 5 comps under $100, which
Yeah.
I thought was like extremely cheap. So I think for Shane Wright, like it is low risk right now if you're able to get his stuff, even at comp, man. Like PSA 10, best deal I saw all weekend was the gentleman Neil that organizes the show calendar that we always talk about at the end of the show. He listed 2 Shane Wright PSA 10s for $100. 2 of them for $100. Like $50 for a PSA 10 Shane Wright. If he gets traded, man, that thing could go boom, $80. Like I think there's a lot of room for Shane Wright to grow.
If he ends up in the right spot, for sure. That is one of those players you could speculate on where the hobby is kind of soured on him. Like former top prospect, right? He was at one point a highly sought after chase back in 22-23. He was one of the top rookies that came out of that class. But just has not lived up to the hype, has not lived up to the potential. And because of that, his hobby market has taken an absolute nosedive. But you're right, on a different team with a good market, a different situation, change of scenery, he finally reaches some of that potential. He's a guy who could rebound for sure. Like I'm looking right now, you can get a cup RPA from Shane Wright for like less than $200. I mean, $112 for a cup, an exquisite cup RPA from Shane Wright for $112, number to 51. Like an exquisite RPA to 51. Another one, exquisite RPA to $25.99. Like super, super cheap market right now on Shane Wright. That's the type of stuff we're talking about. Like, sure, you can try and pick it up for 80% and then try and flip it for 85% within, a week or two. Or, maybe you just pay the 90, 95%, whatever it may be, and you just hope that he ends up on a good team and the market goes up 25, 30, 40% from his all-time lows, and then you make your flip at that point. Yeah, that's a pretty solid one right there. Okay, let's get back to the Super Show though, because I think there was a couple other things that I wanted to get into. First and foremost, like what were your overall thoughts on the show, I guess?
Yeah, I thought the show was great. Like even just walking around and talking to people, like you said, so many people came up to us and said, that they listened to the pod, that they were able to see us at the shows and even get deals done. I thought overall it was really, really, really well organized. Lots of people, lots of vendors, which is always good. Lots of events too, which when I was first going to shows, I never really understood how important that is. But even just talking to people, like people will say, yeah, I just kind of drove in from Hamilton to get an autograph from Joseph Wall and get a picture or whatever it might be. And that kind of brought them to the second day or to Sunday or whatever it might be to get them hanging around the whole weekend. So I thought it was really well run, well organized. And I mean, just to get Joseph Wallow, Jacob Quillen, they're hitting the right audience. So I thought it was really
Dougie Gilmore also was in attendance signing autographs. Yeah, that's like the secondary aspect of these shows too, right? It's not just for cards; it's a big part of it, but it's also for, again, collectors. It's a collector super show, and some people collect signed memorabilia. They want to bring in their sticks, their jerseys, their photos. They want to get the pictures with the players, gloves, like whatever it may be. So that's another part of it. And I thought that they hit out of the park. 3 very quality people to bring into Doug Gilmore, Joseph Wall, and Jacob Quillen, but I guess he was just around. He was around, so they brought him in as well. I'm sure some people were stoked to get some Quillen autographs. He's got a Young Guns out there. I bet you he signed a couple Quillen Young Guns from this past year. The one thing that I do want to ask you though, and we kind of were talking about this a little bit at the show, like if you think this will have any impact, like will this detract people from going to the expo? Like will it make it seem a little less luxurious? Because if you add this in, all of a sudden you go from only 2 shows a year to now 3 shows a year. Like, do you think this has any negative impact on expo?
I think that it's tricky because expo only comes around twice a year. So many people look forward to it, especially doing it at the same convention center. I think brings up this conversation even more where, people maybe don't get as excited for that expo that only comes around in April and November, if they know that this show is going to come around. I mean, sure, it's TCG and sports, and it is the collector super show. But I do think that if you continue to run this show 2 times, 3 times, 4 times a year, I mean, I don't know exactly what the plan is. I think
this show, or you mean like Expo?
no,
Like,
I mean that like this collector super show. Like if they start to make this a quarterly thing where they do it every 4 months, then I think it can take away from the expo that happens, the
yeah.
fall and spring expo. But once a year is fine, twice a year, okay, maybe. But if we're gonna make this into a quarterly thing, then I think it could have a negative impact on the expo.
Yeah, I'm with you. I honestly I think that I think this is almost perfect. Like you got your 2 big expos in the fall and the spring, and then you put one kind of right in the middle of the season, right? Right in the middle, right in February, between the two. I think it's a really good move, really smart move, because people are jittery, they're itching, especially you're coming off the holidays. You've given yourself another 6 weeks to replenish the bank account coming off of Christmas, and people are spending again at that point. So I actually think that it's perfect. You get yourself a mid-February kind of mini expo right in between the 2 big expos. I think that they hit it out of the park with the size here and the timing of it too. So hopefully they don't go overboard. So many times you see there's so many shows out there nowadays too. I think it works because it is right in the middle and it's a half show. But if they do oversaturate it, then I'm with you, where I think you start to not necessarily. I think Expo won't take a big hit, but I think this show would take a little bit.
Yeah, I think even too, like for the expo to happen at the time that it did, now not really in the playoffs, obviously with the Olympics going on, is awesome.
Yeah,
But like you
perfect.
said, the Christmas season is done. People are done with their shopping. They're kind of anticipating the April expo that's coming up. I guess we're almost a couple weeks away. Geez, like maybe 10
Wow,
weeks now.
it's the final week of April. It's actually April into
geez.
May. Yeah,
Wow.
surprisingly, yeah, it's into May. It's like April 29th, 30th, May 1st type deal. Yeah, it's a little later this year, a week later than usual. Because it usually falls on the same date as the NFL draft, but it's the week after this year, which I love because I love the draft and I love watching, see what's going down on Saturday, Sunday, watching night 1, night 2, and usually the expo, we'll say, gets in the way a little bit of that, but not this year, which is pretty sweet. Anthony, you've put together a list though, and there's a reason for this list. There was a couple incidents this weekend with some scummy dealers, so we've put together a list of you entitled it Top 5 Scummy Dealer Moves. That's what you wanted to title this as. I'm going to call it 5 things not to do as a car dealer. Like, don't be this guy. Don't be this dealer where Anthony and I have to have a conversation after a car show and be like, did you see what that guy did? You'll never believe what this scumbag did to me. And then have to talk about the horror stories and the stuff that really bugs people in the hobby. Like, there's a reason why the hobby sometimes gets a bad rep. It's because there's bad actors in everywhere. Don't be this guy. And here's kind of 5 things that Anthony's got, a little 5-pack for you of scumbag dealer moves that he's witnessed a time or two going to these shows the last few years.
Yeah, let's just say that of these 5, we can confirm that 2 of them for sure did occur this weekend. So coming at number 5, in quotations here, we got a dealer says to the buyer, yeah, but doesn't that include shipping and taxes? So that's going to be when they're looking at comps and someone's trying to buy a card and all you hear the dealer say, yeah, okay, you go pay that comp, buddy, for $70, but don't you got to pay shipping and taxes? Like the comp 70, but look, I'm asking 110. Like,
did you see
how it works, man?
Did you see the text we got from producer Brandon as we were recording this show? Like, he has no idea this conversation's happening at this moment. Go check your texts. Literally, this exact same thing is happening. He's having a conversation, trying to buy something off someone on Facebook, and they brought up, look at what they're bringing up. Yeah, move number 5 up, he says, and it's because he's in this exact situation. He's, he offered. I think, what did he say? There was a $16 sale on something. He offered $20, and then he said, "Oh, 27. One's available, $35, including shipping." And I guess he's like, no, what does it say? I don't see it. I see the one on auction with 2 hours left at $14. And the response was, yeah, that's the one. Add $22 in shipping to the $14 bid, and it's $36. And it's like, we can't just be adding shipping costs to our, this is the same with the Beckett people. They're the same people. Your Beckett guide, Bible holders. Yeah, it's the same people. Shipping and taxes, because it works both ways. Really, it works both ways, right? Like shipping and taxes, right? You don't got to pay that. You also don't have to pay fees, right? Like this is where I don't understand that part of the hobby. It's like, well, you don't have to ship it, and you don't have to pay fees either. So we both put that to rest. Realistically, if the card sells for $20 with a $5 shipping fee, it's worth $20. Let's not play that game. I don't like when dealers play that game with me. Rarely will I buy off of dealers like that, because often, number 4, it also accompanies with these people. So you want to dive into number 4 here on our top 5 list?
This one ties in, and I feel like if you've been around the hobby and been to shows, this happens all the time to you. When you go to a dealer and they're overcomping their cards, but then they lowball you for their cards. I was at the show this weekend, sold someone a card for $90. They said, I won't be able to get much more than 120 for it. I can only take it for 90. I'm probably going to sticker it at 100, whatever, yada, yada. I come back 20 minutes later. That card was stickered at $200, man. $200 sticker. Like, I get it. If we're selling cards, everyone's got to make money. I don't mind selling a card for $90. You sticker it at 120, 130, 140, whatever it's got to be. But if you're going to sticker for double, especially when you're lowballing the card too, I mean, that's just ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, I had the exact same thing happen to me, and it was a rigorous negotiation. Sold the card for $400. The very next day, I saw the guy had it stickered at $750, and he's like going after me about like $25 or something like that. He's like, "Oh, you're killing me, my margins, this, that." And he stickers it at $750. I'm like, gee, nice. Like, brutal stuff. So overcomping your cards is definitely like don't be that guy, because Anthony and I, like, we're fairly experienced, show goers at this point. Been in the hobby for years. Like, realistically, if you're new to setting up and you're overcomping your cards, what's going to end up happening is people are just going to move right past you. And, you start to develop a reputation. And look, there are shows that I go to quite consistently like that. We went to that Hamilton Collecticon show over the weekend, also on Family Day. There's a good 7 or 8 people there that I just don't even talk to, don't even look at their stuff, because one of two things. They're Beckett Bible people, which means they don't really know the market, and they're overcomping their cards. You'll see a card that's going for like $40 and they have a $200 sticker on it. And they're also the same, shipping and taxes people. So yeah, don't be that guy where you're overcomping cards, but also don't be the guy where, you're buying and you're just completely lowballing and, faking, comps essentially, or manipulating comps. I think you had that scenario happen this weekend as well.
Oh yeah, I didn't even add this one to it, but I guess you could call this an honorable mention. But maybe using an app that someone's never used before and putting it into a different currency, that's probably a pretty good honorable mention. But that was a pretty good manipulation of comps. So
yeah, well, more so like I've seen it before where guys will be like, "Oh, look, I'm seeing it's 200." It's like, "Hey, well, when's that comp from?" "Oh, it's from December." "Okay, well, what about the one from January, or the one from February 2nd that's double that? What about those comps?" And they're trying to show you, and it's like, okay, we'll scroll up to the more recent comps, because they're a heck of a lot more money than that. That's what I mean by the the lowballing and comp manipulation. Don't be that guy. Don't be that dealer. That's high up on our scumbag list when people do that. And that's nearly what someone tried to do to you. You sniffed it out though. Number 3 on your list, Anthony.
So I'm going to toss a little bit of an asterisk on this one, but I think that cracking cards that are graded, I'm going to call it a 7 or lower. Maybe if you crack an 8 and sell it as a raw, I'm okay with that. But cracking a card that's graded a 7 or lower and then selling it as a raw and not disclosing that it was in a slab or it did have this damage or whatever it might be. And I'm putting an asterisk because sure, if you go up and you have, I don't know, let's just card right in front of me and you say to the guy, yeah, this was a PSA 6. I think it's got a little ding on the back. I'm okay with that. But if you go and sell a card that doesn't have, or you don't give that kind of explanation why it was cracked, look at the corner, look at this, look at the hidden scratch on the surface. I think that's a little bit of that's not a nice move.
I'm going to push back on this one. I don't think that there's really anything wrong with it because you're selling it as a raw card and it's what it is. It's a raw card. Now, if it has crazy damage and it's visible, then the price should reflect that anyways. So that's my only reason why I'll push back on that one. And at the end of the day, like it's also on the buyer, I guess, to look at it, inspect it, and say, yeah, I think this is, worth paying based on this condition, or, oh, it's got a scratch, it's got a print line, it's got a dinged corner. Can we shave 10% off the price because of the damage? Like, I think as the buyer, you should just see that, and I don't have as much of a problem with that one as maybe you do. I would have that one a little lower on my list, I would say. But I understand it. It's like a little bit scummy not telling people. Mainly if they ask. I think if they ask and they're like, oh, why didn't you grade it? And you just say, oh, I don't grade, right? Like that happens a lot. Like, oh, I'm not a big grader. Or, oh, I don't know. Like I was going to grade it and you like completely lie about it. Then I think there's an issue. But if you're just selling it and someone's buying it raw and they don't plan on grading it, I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to put an asterisk on that one.
Yeah. All right. Number 2 of your top 5 scumbag dealer moves, the don't be this guy, don't be this dealer list. So far, you've got the dealer who likes to price in shipping and taxes when comping, the dealer who overcomps their cards, dealers who lowball or comp manipulate, cracking cards and selling them as raw. What's number 2 on your list, Anthony?
So number 2, honestly, it wasn't even on my mind until it happened to me this weekend. So brutal, man. So 2 Ivan Demidov Young Guns I was looking at. One of them stickered at $220, one of them stickered at $180. I took a look at the 221, obviously better condition. Agreed to the price on that one. The one that had a $180 sticker obviously had some visible damage to it. I was inspecting the clean card, but when we agreed to the price and I went down to reach into my bag to grab my cash, the dealer did a little switcheroo action there and handed me the card that was damaged. So I have never had this happen to me in my life until this weekend, but I think it was on purpose. Could have been on accident.
Sounds on purpose. Scumbag. That is scumbag material right there. That might even be number 1.
Oh, I don't know. That one was pretty brutal. But if you're a dealer and you see someone inspecting the clean version of a card and you got 2 of them and you swap it out for the damaged version of the card, hoping that they walk away, put it in their case, not look at their pickups until they get home, that is just brutal, man. Brutal.
That's top tier scumbaggery right there. I do think that belongs very high up on this list. All right, what's the worst thing that a dealer can do, though?
Ooh, number 1 here. This is the worst. I think it's the most common, too. It's probably happened to you. It's probably happened to me. And it's probably happened to someone out there that's listening right now. But covering damage on a card with a sticker, it's probably the worst thing you could do as a dealer. And you especially notice it, too, and I keep pulling up this card, but if you have a sticker that's over here and all your cards have stickers over here, but there's a 1 sticker on the top right corner or the top left corner in your case, and it's the only one that's covering a corner, and you kind of go to ask them and say, can I take a look at that card? And they're like, don't take it out of the case. You take it out and boom, botched corner. That is the worst thing you could do as a dealer, and I know people do it all the time. It is brutal.
Yeah, no, that does happen all the time, and you got to be careful. And obviously, you could sit there and say, well, it's on the buyer to inspect their own cards, but it's also a bit of a scummy move to hide it, at least from people who are buying it, because you're right, you're grabbing it, you're looking at the card, and you're looking at each corner, and the one's covered up. So instead of pulling it out, which some people don't like to do, you just look like, okay, the rest looks good. I'm going to assume the other corner's fine. And then you get home, you go to put in a new top loader, you go to put in a one touch, and next thing you know, that corner is bungled. And that's the reason why the sticker was there. Or there's, damage, or there's, edge damage, edge wear, a bit of peeling, print line, whatever it might be. But covering damage with your price stickers is pretty scummy. I would agree, and it definitely deserves to be high up on this list. It's a pretty good list. You don't want to be someone doing these things, though. I'll say that. Reputation is everything in this hobby, and if you're some of the people that we've unfortunately interacted with who have done these things, it's not good. It's not good to be associated with this. So one more time, Anthony, give us your recap 1 through 5. Top 5 scumbag dealer moves.
Number 5, yeah, but that doesn't include shipping and taxes. Okay, buddy, we know that you're going to lowball me anyway, so it doesn't matter about shipping and taxes. Number 4, overcomping your cards while lowballing others. So annoying. Number 3, cracking graded cards that are graded a 7 or lower and then selling them as a raw without disclosing it. Number 2, inspecting a clean card as a buyer, but then the seller hands you a damaged card. And number 1, the worst one of all, covering damage on a card with stickers. And not to mention, an honorable mention, comp manipulation. That one is so sneaky. I don't want to see your USD prices saying the last comp is Canadian, and then you're going to show me comps from the summer, and then you're going to offer me 80%, and then you're going to value that at 80%, and then buy it at 70%. I know what you're doing out there, man.
Yeah.
I know what you're doing out there.
Don't be those people. Don't be these people. If you are a new to the game and you're a dealer out there, don't do these things. Trust me, because you don't want Anthony and I coming on the podcast blasting you and other people in the hobby blasting you. Because guess what happens? You're just not going to go to those tables anymore. You're not going to do business with those people anymore. And sure enough, eventually you're going to get that bad reputation in the hobby, and you're not going to be able to sell your cards because no one wants to deal with you. You're going to end up with a big old stack of cards and no one to sell to. So there it is. Good list, Anthony. That was a solid list. Okay, we want to get to this new segment. We got a couple of things that we want to get in here. It's shoot or pass. So pretty much, Anthony, we're going to make statements to one another, and if we agree with the statement, we'll take that shot. We'll take that shot. If we disagree, we're going to pass it up. We're going to pass on it. So, Anthony, why don't you go ahead and start? What statement do you want to make?
All right, let's do it. So, Macklin Celebrini, Olympic gold champion, Hart Trophy champion, and ultimately ends his season in a Game 7 losing effort in the first round of the NHL playoffs. His Young Guns are going to reach a price tag of $800 Canadian and a PSA 10 value of $4,000 Canadian.
I'll pass on that. Like, you're assuming that he does all of this, or like all of this has to happen?
All of this has to happen. It's all going to happen. I'll
still pass on it. Just simply because you look around other markets, like you look at McDavid, like in order for McDavid to get into the 4,000 range, it's taken him having to go to a Stanley Cup final to get there. So, and he's got, the Hart trophies. He's won a lot of games. Doesn't have the gold medal yet, but could. But even him, it struggles to get to 4K. So, although there's so much hype right now around Macklin Celebrini, I think expecting it to like double again might be a little much unless he goes on a wild run and they win a cup. I think that might be worthy of getting to that number. But if it's a first round exit here, or they don't even make the playoffs, yeah, I don't think we get even relatively close to 4K. Not this season, at least. Could it eventually get there if he continues on to this trajectory and trend? Yeah, I think he can get there, but it's not going to be this year. Absolutely not.
No, I definitely agree with that.
No, absolutely not. Okay, you had another one here. This one in regards to Matthew Schaefer and what Series 2 is coming out? What, a couple of weeks? No, Series 2 release
March 4th, man. Right
March
after
4th,
my birthday, gonna be opening it.
So 2 weeks today, I think, actually, of recording this. Series 2 expected to come out, and it's going to be the Matthew Schaefer Young Guns Chase. And, we've seen a lot of Young Guns go very high on opening day. But, Anthony, 2 weeks from release, Matthew Schaefer Young Guns will be going for $250 raw.
Ooh, that is right on the fence for me, man, because I had him pinned at around $200. I mean, I think on release, boxes, going for around $180, I believe. $200 feels right. $250 is just over that. I think I'm gonna
just to quickly, give some context, I suppose. Like Demidov was in that 250 to 300 range. I think on release he got up to like 350, but for the most part, 250 to 300 was right around where you were picking up Demidovs in like kind of that 2 week range of when the product came out. So like, is he in that mix? Is Matthew Schaefer in that mix? Or do you see these things really tailing off, a couple weeks out from release?
Yeah, I think it's going to tail off pretty quickly. I think because he is a defenseman, obviously he's had a great season. You can't take that away from him. But I'm interested to see because we know how defensemen's markets are in the hobby. So I'm hoping that his market is pretty expensive because it's always nice to see Canadian players, popular players in the hobby, their cards so sought after. But I don't think I'm going to pass on that. $250 is too expensive for Schaefer.
Well, it's expensive to pay, but the question is, do you think he gets there? I think it's more so. No, not liking him to get there. All right. All right. Good stuff. What's next?
All right, last one here. A little bit of a homer take. I love talking Austin Matthews, especially on this pod. But here's my little take, what I think is actually going to happen here. I want to see if you agree or not. The Toronto Maple Leafs limp into the offseason. Austin Matthews finishes the season with 34 goals and 76 points, while in the summer, the floor for a Young Guns PSA 10 hits $625.
625, very specific. 34 goals, 76 points. So like if he gets anyways, all right. Very oddly specific numbers here. 34 goals, 76 points. But anyway, did they make the playoffs in this case, or are they not in the playoffs here?
Unfortunately, they narrowly missed the playoffs.
Okay. This is tough. Like it's a pretty good number. What's he going for right now as we speak? What's his PSA 10 Young Guns kind of sitting at? Now, for a while, it was hovering between 900-ish.
Yeah,
is it still there?
So around $850 to $900 for a PSA 10 Matthews. That's right now too.
Yeah, it's in the midst of the Olympics. I'm gonna pass on it. I think I'm gonna pass on it. I feel like 625 is just too low. Like that's just too low of a floor for a guy who, pretty consistently still sells at 800. Do I see it getting below, 750? I don't think I see it getting below 7. No, I think we'll still stay in that range. There's still so much to love about Matthews' game. If he can stay healthy and if they can get the right guys around him in Toronto, I think it's a bad season, a down year for the team. But I don't know how many people will be willing to offload their Matthews at that price. That's maybe more so why I don't think that we'll see it happen. You've got a couple PSA 10 Austin Matthews. What would you do if the comps at that point are 625? You're gonna
Oh,
sell, or you're gonna hold? I
man.
imagine you're gonna hold.
I think it'd be tough. Not only hold, I think I'd have no choice but to kind of dollar cost average, pick up a couple PSA 10s at that price. I mean, even
Right.
still, if they were to comp at 625, I don't think a lot of people in Toronto would be stickering them any much lower than $700. You know how people are at some of these shows. I cannot.
People are still stickering Matthews at
1100,
yeah,
man. It's crazy.
Still, yeah, it's crazy. It is quite insane. I will say though, like his market's really strange though, because I had a tough time getting $300 for like a raw young gun, and in the summer that felt like a big buy. Like if you found a Matthews raw young gun for $300 at a card shop or a card show, like you felt like you won, right? Like that's a come up, right? You could grade that. You get a 9. 9s are going for 450, 500. You get a 10. They're going for about 900 to 1,000, or even raw. Like you could probably get close to 4 and a quarter, 450 for it. Now, like it's pulling teeth trying to get a $300 out of a Matthews raw young gun. His market's really dropped off, and it just doesn't seem to be a lot of hype, and B, a lot of love for not only Matthews, but a lot of Maple Leafs right now. Like Nylander, I didn't find Nylander sold very well this past weekend at the collector's show. Even Nyes has seen, a decrease, like his young guns, which was going pretty steady in like the 60 to 80 range for quite some time. Even he's down to like $30 to $40 for a raw young gun. So it's not just Matthews who's taking a hit. It's a lot of the Maple Leafs market who's been on a steady decline in this down year. Okay, nothing. No response, huh? All right.
Shut me up. Shut me
You
up.
got any pickups this week?
Picked up a lot of cards this weekend, man. I had to narrow it down. 3 of my favorites here. So I wanted to show off this one too. Shout out listener of the pod that actually walked up to me and brought me this Brandon Bussy exclusive young gun.
Let's go. Was it Jay Collectibles by chance?
I believe that's his Instagram handle. I believe.
Yeah, Jay. That's so funny.
He did come up and say, like, I was kind of going through a bin or looking at a case or something like that, and kind of just tapped me on the shoulder. He was like, "Hey, I got something for you."
He's a beauty.
And yeah, he gave me a good price. It was totally fair. Do I think that Bussy's market is going to hold on for the next couple months? I mean, I hope so, but it's going to be really tough because, dude, this card was worth nothing in the summer, but he's been awesome this year. So super happy to get that. But I think I'm done buying Bussy. I picked up like one raw young gun, but I think spending all that money on this is enough to have of him. Second one here that I picked up, this guy's market has come down a lot, but I scooped up a Young Guns PSA 10 Hellebuck. I feel like his market is pretty affordable if you want to get into it, but the goalie market is just so tough. It's so tough, and he's had a tough season, but
Can I ask you a question? Well, let me ask you a question. Why did you buy that?
The Hellebuck?
Yeah.
The Hellebuck was more of like so I've had Hellebuck. I always talk about how much fantasy I play, and I had fantasy. I had him on my keeper team for 3 years in a row. Won me 2 championships. So I kind of wanted to get, a Hellebuck PSA 10. This one's more for the PC. Like I don't think I'm going to
this. That's what I was going to say. Like,
I don't think I would really try and buy his stuff to hold on to it, to flip it like in the future. So I just thought it was a good time to pick one up because last year he was the, Hart Trophy winner, I believe, and the Vezina winner. I think these are going for like $350, and I was still considering at $300 to pick one up for myself. So it was much more reasonable, more reasonable.
Good thing you didn't. Yeah, you got it for like half that.
Man. Last pickup, but another buy low opportunity right here. William Nylander. I didn't really see a lot of these floating around the show for a reasonable price, but I actually got this in a trade, so I was super happy to get that. I actually have one at PSA that I cracked, but I bought one of these for almost $700 a couple months ago, and I thought that was a really sweet deal. So got this one for much lower, got it in a trade, and man, I think Willie's stuff has come down a lot.
It has. It has. Yeah. No, it has. Even Carson, just Card Collectors Toronto. Is that his Instagram handle? He picked up
collectibles.
Yeah, something. He picked up a Nylander Future Watch patch on it.
Really nice
Yeah, and I bet he got a pretty good price on that because his market, again, much like all the other Maple Leafs, pretty down. You know what's another market that's kind of down that I feel like I did well on, and again, when sometimes the way to win in the hobby, when everyone's zigging, you got to zag, and seems like everyone's on the Crosby train right now, and Ovi's market's a bit soft at this point. I was able to pick this up for a really good price. Alex Ovechkin, PSA 9, Young Guns, and like I paid under sticker. And I mean, this is a card that was going for like 2 grand when he broke the record, north of 2 grand when he broke the record for a 9. And now all of a sudden it's like sub, it's like 1,500. I think last sales were decent on it, to be fair, but I think I got at a really good price, and I think that Ovechkin kind of being slept on a little bit. Like I think his market has come way down since breaking the record, but I still think that it shouldn't have come down as much as it has. I'll say that he's still one of the goats of the game. No one has scored more goals in the game than this man right here. So I think Ovechkin might be a buy right now. While everyone's hot on Crosby and Macklin Celebrini and McDavid and all these other Canadian studs and stars, no one's scoring the amount of goals that this guy has scored. So I think Ovechkin, for as long as his market's still a little low, worth picking up. So that was my biggest pickup of the weekend, I would say.
I
Not a
like
bunch
it.
of other little stuff, but that was the main pickup there. You hitting up any shows this weekend?
I don't think so. I don't know. What are you thinking for Sunday, man? What's your plan? If Canada is in that game, I don't think I'm going to be headed to any shows. Like maybe if it's not Canada, maybe I'll make my way up to Niagara. But like,
Yeah, well, I'm hoping it's Canada.
during the game. I don't really want to be at a show during the game. I just kind of want to be dialed in with a coffee, like just chilling.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I will be setting up at the M&L show in St. Catharines this Sunday, which starts at 9:00, 9 to 2, for anyone who wants to make their way down. Great hockey show, one of the best hockey shows in Southern Ontario, Expo aside, and now Mini-Expo aside, I would say. Great show for hockey. Like I'm going to bring my laptop and I'm going to try and watch the game there. Like it's an 8:00 start. So I'm just going to go super early, get myself set up and then watch, the first period before the doors open up. And then, for the first couple hours of the show, I guess, just kind of keep an eye on my laptop. And I know that they have that projector screen as well. I'm hoping to get a good spot where I can just watch the game on the projector too, which would be nice. And like every time Canada scores, you just know that there's going to be an uproar, right? The whole place. You're with hockey fans. So I actually think it'll be a pretty cool spot to be honest with you. And hey, if a big boy scores a goal, whether it's Celebrini or it's Crosby or it's McDavid or whoever it may be, Mitch Marner again, potentially, I'd be curious to see, like, hey, does people start asking for those? I say, oh, Marner Young Guns double now. Oh, Celebrini Young Guns, $700.
Yeah.
Could see it happening. I think it'd be fun. But yeah, so I'm setting up on Sunday and also Saturday. Dolly's Niagara is having a sports card show, a little watch along for the bronze medal game. Hopefully Canada's not in that one. So I'll be set up on Saturday. That's from 12 to 6 in St. Catharines at the Dolly's Cards and Collectibles show in St. Catharines as well. So yeah, Dolly's on Saturday, M&L on Sunday. Got a lot of inventory that I'm looking to move on from. So a lot of new inventory that I'm looking to move. So come out and say hi at those shows and say what up. We'll enjoy it. We would enjoy it. All right, buddy. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe right here on YouTube. You can also listen to us on the go wherever you get your podcasts, up on Apple Podcasts and as well on Spotify. But we'll be back next Wednesday with another episode of the Hockey Card Haven podcast.